Once upon a time, if you were looking to buy one of the sportier driving mid-size family sedans in the segment, you were looking at a Nissan Altima. This nameplate has been part of the Nissan staple for over 30 years, and even though we've seen the mid-size segment change drastically as everyone moves towards SUVs, there is still a pretty strong number of buyers that take home a family sedan every year. Now, as you guys know, the current generation Altima has been around since 2019. This is now in its 6th generation. However, there is some sad news because Nissan says that this model year will actually be the last year, and we have no idea whether Nissan will completely kill off the nameplate entirely or if they're going to replace it with an all-new version. So as you can see, this week we are testing out the latest Altima, a 2025 Altima SV Special Edition with the company's optional all-wheel drive system. And the big question I want to answer, for those of you who are looking for a mid-sized family sedan because you wouldn't be caught dead in an SUV and you want something a little bit more simple, how does the latest version of the 2025 Altima stack up? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we start talking about the exterior styling for the final year of the 6th generation Altima, I thought I'd pop the hood and remind you guys what's powering this thing. Now, here in America, Nissan used to offer a choice between two engines, a 4-cylinder and a VC turbo 4-cylinder. Sadly, for 2025, the up-level turbo engine is gone, leaving only this engine, a base 2.5-liter naturally aspirated direct injection 4-cylinder. Now, as you can see underneath this engine, which isn't the most prettiest engine bay, you are going to find a motor that the company has been using for quite some time. It's known as internally as the PR25DE. It's kind of an evolution of the QR25DE engine. But like I said, 2.5 liters, double overhead cam, direct injection, variable valve timing. In the version that I'm showing you here with the company's optional all-wheel drive system, horsepower figure tops out at 182 horsepower and 178 pound-feet of torque. That's a reduction of 6 horsepower and 2 pound-feet versus the front-wheel drive version of the Altima. The manual transmission has been gone for quite some time, so your only transmission option is an Xtronic CVT, the company's latest continuously variable transmission. Now, like I said, your choice of either front or all-wheel drive for an extra $1,000, I believe. With all-wheel drive, my test car is rated to get 25 in the city, 34 on the highway with its 16-gallon fuel tank. You're looking at around 450-ish miles of range on a full tank. That is thankfully, again, on regular fuel. Nissan doesn't quote a 0 to 60 time. I've actually never tested this model here with the base engine with all-wheel drive, so we'll get it out on the road and see how it does. Top speed for this vehicle is bay, which is my bad joke way of saying big Altima energy, because as you guys know, this vehicle suffers, of course, from that stereotype of people driving these cars super aggressively. I'd say the top speed is probably around 125 miles an hour. Curb weight, as this model sits, is around 3,400 pounds. Even with all-wheel drive, the Altima is one of the lighter options out there in the family sedan segment. Now, closing the hood, let's go ahead and talk about the exterior styling of this 2025 model year. Now, my particular test car that I'm showing you is actually not even a fully loaded version. Typically, I show you guys like the most expensive, most tech-filled version, but this is actually a mid-trim called the SV. It's one notch above the S. It also has a special edition package for an extra $1,000 that rolls in a lot of additional black accents and some upgrades. My particular test car is the pearl white tri-coat exterior color. You can see it has some nice metallic fleck in it. It's an extra $425. All Altimas come standard with the company's full LED headlights. You can see it includes an LED daytime running light, LED low and high beams, even an LED turn signal. I was not expecting that. You can see the company's V-Motion grille here is large and in charge with, of course, the new Nissan logo. The special edition package blacks out most of the grille. And the Altima got a pretty significant refresh in 2023 that I thought actually made it look even better. Sadly, down here, there are no fog lights, just some fake vents, some functional vents over here with that kind of black front splitter. And overall, I think this vehicle actually still looks good. That's the thing about the Altima, is it actually is a surprisingly handsome looking sedan. I think it looks better versus the Kia K5 and the Hyundai Sonata. The Accord's a little bit too conservative. The Camry is probably my favorite looking of the sedans now, but the Altima actually is not bad, especially if you guys go for the SR trim. Nissan offers that with bronze wheels and a tactical green color. That's the combination I would definitely go for. Now, moving around the side profile, with the Maxima removed from the lineup in 2023, the Altima is now Nissan's flagship sedan, but it's probably going to, that distinction will fall to the Sentra afterwards because it'll be the last sedan Nissan offers. But it's a relatively large vehicle at 193.9 inches long with a 111-inch long wheelbase. This is the longest Altima that Nissan's ever produced. It's around 10 inches longer than the current Sentra. So again, if you like a big family sedan size, you're going to be looking at this vehicle. And then my particular test car has a pretty smallish wheel for the class. It's a 17-inch alloy riding on a 215 by 55 R17 Kumo soulless all-season tire. You do have all disc brakes with an all-independent suspension. No adaptive dampers, obviously, but my test car again adds that optional mechanical all-wheel drive system, which is a great option if you live in a snow belt state. You can see in terms of the rest of the profile, there are some chrome along the window trim and the door handles. The mirrors are body colored, not power folding, no integrated turn signals. The SV Special Edition also includes a power sunroof. No pano roof is available on this car. And then looking at the rest of the profile here, you can really see that the traditional 3-box shape design is ever apparent. And in terms of any styling changes to the rear in the refresh in 2023, there were very little. In fact, Nissan should have upgraded the taillights. They are an all incandescent design versus the front, which has a full LED design. To me, it seems like a cheap omission. I would have preferred to see the taillights again get some kind of LED accents. I do like the kind of midnight gray coloring here for the badging back here with the new Nissan logo. Of course, there's a all-wheel drive badge to let everybody know that you have all-wheel drive. And then my test car with the SV appearance package or special edition package includes a more aggressive rear diffuser with the chrome outlet dual exhaust tips. Love that, along with the integrated parking sensors. It actually gives the Altima a sporty, wide, low profile. It just needs LED taillights to kind of finish off the look, or even a pano sunroof and a black roof would make it look even nicer as well. Now, in terms of the cargo capacity, open this up, you can see the trunk is a pretty generous size at around 15.4 cubic feet. It's about a cubic foot bigger versus what you get in the smaller Sentra. You can see there are hinges that crush your cargo. The seats do fold down in a 60-40 manner, which is nice. And if you look underneath here, there is a temporary spare tire at least, so you don't have to deal with a fix-a-flat kit. Moving on to the interior of this latest 2025 Altima SV. Before we get inside, however, let me show you guys the key fob. You can see even though this is a lower trim, it does come standard with the company's Intelligent Access key with their latest emblem. You can see the key fob itself is an older design, but I do like the way the fob is shaped. It's also a good size. The SV Special Edition package adds the remote start functionality, but you have your usual buttons here for lock, unlock, remote open for the trunk, and a panic function. As you approach the door handle, you can see it's a traditional pull style door handle, not a digital system, but there is a button here. Touch that button, that will lock the door. Again, no power folding mirrors. If you want to unlock it, you have to touch the button again with the key fob on you, and that will unlock the door for you. Now, looking at the interior, you can see it almost basically looks like I'm driving around in a rental car because, again, this is the base SV trim and it only comes with cloth seats with a black interior like this with the contrast kind of white stitching, which does look nicer how it has that. But the cloth, I have to say the fabric is not bad, but these seats offer almost nothing in terms of lateral support and they just feel very flat. I found the thigh extension wasn't good enough. You do have at least I believe an 8-way power driver's seat, but no adjustable lumbar. The passenger side is just a 4-way manual. And then you can see it's just very, very dark in this interior. You can see you have a soft touch injection molded material here on the upper door panel. There's like a faux carbon fiber trim. I like the silver accented door handle, but it's just a plastic piece, but it's not actually aluminum. You can see there's some leatherette covering this portion and this portion where it's nice and padded, more of that carbon fiber trim. I applaud Nissan for not using a piano black trim at least. And then you can see window controls are the older variety. You can see only the driver gets a one-touch up-down. Everything else is not one-touch, sadly. And again, no power folding mirrors. Just hard touch plastic here with a little bit of storage. And then the standard, I believe it's a 6-speaker Nissan stereo. There's no Bose audio in this particular trim. Now, stepping inside, the Altima has around 5 inches of ground clearance. So it's a typical low sedan step-in height. As I shut the door has a somewhat tinny sound to it. The rattle that you heard was actually my garage clicker here, so that doesn't add to the impression of quality, but at least once you get inside, you can see my test car has the premium package or the special edition package, so it includes the bigger 12.3-inch display. When you want to start it up, the start-stop button is here by the shifter. And the vehicle comes to life with a traditional starter noise. That's because there is no hybrid or mild hybrid. In fact, the Altima was the first Nissan vehicle to offer a hybrid like 15 years ago, but it was a system that they borrowed the technology from Toyota. Nissan is again working on their own hybrid powertrain, which should be showing up by the end of this year. You can see the instrument panel looks very old school with the 7-inch LCD display with the traditional analog speedometer and tachometer, although it's a very traditional look. The steering wheel is also not even leather wrapped. It's urethane. It feels I guess okay for a plastic steering wheel, but I would have preferred this to be leather wrapped. The special edition package I think should have at least added that. It's a nice flat bottom design. Nissan calls it a D-cut. No paddles behind the wheel. I think the SR trim might include that. You do have a manual tilt telescoping, which offers a good amount of adjustability and range so you can get a comfortable driving position. All of the switchgear in here feels older. No adaptive cruise control, just regular cruise control, which most competitors make that standard. So it shows, again, the Altima's age, how Nissan makes you go up to the higher trims to get that feature. Now, obviously no heads-up display. The upper portion has a slightly padded material here, and also slightly padded here, but it's not as plush as what you feel from the door panels, which is even more softly padded. And then you can see here there's some fake looking wood grain. I would have preferred this to just be a fake alloy trim as opposed to the wood. And then you can see that for $1,000 that special edition package includes their bigger 12.3-inch display with Nissan Connect. It's not their latest software, which means the graphics are a little bit behind. They're not quite as crisp, and it's a little bit slower to respond. It does include wireless Apple CarPlay, but Android Auto is via a wired connection. Obviously, I can't. My phone's not connected because I'm using it to film, and it messes up the audio system with Nissan's when you do that. But I mean, overall, it's certainly not bad. If you put the vehicle into reverse, you can see there's just your standard backup camera. It has parking sensors and trajectory, but if you want a 360 camera, you have to go for the SL trim. And I believe the SR with the premium package includes that, but I'm not quite certain 100% now. I like how there's a traditional dash design here with the traditional vents. You have a volume knob here with some buttons. Push that button here, it'll bring up the camera display, of course. Then you can see here the premium or the special edition package also includes dual zone automatic climate control. No heated seats, however, but at least you do get a wireless phone charging pad with 2 USB charging ports. This is your gear selector here for the CVT. It's very traditional PRNDL, and then there's also a sport mode. If you push this little button on the back here, that activates the sport mode. If you put it into that, you can see it'll populate a little S there. There's no actual drive modes, just a drive mode in the transmission. Electronic parking brake, more of that carbon fiber look trim. So I applaud Nissan again for only using just this area for piano black. And then you can see this area is all hard touch plastic, nice padded center console. Open that up, it's actually a pretty big size. All my camera gear that I typically film with actually fits in there, which is nice. Above me, you can see no LED map lighting with a woven material. You can see also there's a standard sunroof that also tilts and opens up. And then if you look at the glove box, you can see it's a pretty big glove box. It's damped but not lined with felt. There's also decent storage here, decent sized cup holders. And overall, the build quality of this model is perfectly acceptable. It does feel a little bit chintzy in terms of some of the plastics, and it's also a little drab in here because it's all black. But again, keep in mind, Nissan does offer other colors. A lighter color would certainly freshen things up. But aside from just the bigger display, everything in here feels basically like it is definitely due for a refresh. But let's go ahead and hop into the backseat area because the Altima is their biggest sedan, and this is where things get a little disappointing if you're looking at the numbers. Now, I am appreciative of how big the door does open. Sadly, the material quality back here is all hard touch plastic. It is padded over here at least where your elbows would rest. Window controls, again, not one touch, but more of that carbon fiber look trim. But Nissan says you only have around 35 inches of legroom back here. 35 inches is actually the same legroom as the smaller Sentra, which is smaller by 10 inches. So that's a little disappointing. You can see the cloth material comes back into the rear seat area. There's no adjustable head restraint, sadly, but as I get inside, you can see this is pretty much my driving position. Let me go ahead and close the door. There's actually more legroom than the numbers would suggest. I mean, this feels pretty much on par with all the other mid-sized competitors out there. I can get back here, I can cross my legs easily. There's good foot space. There's a hump here for the drive shaft if you guys want all-wheel drive. And then there's 2 USB charging ports, an A and a C. Sadly, no rear seat air vents. You only get 1 map pocket over there. No heated rear seats, but at least you get the USBs. And then if you fold this down, you can see there is an armrest with 2 cup holders. So it is not too terrible back here for adults. In terms of headroom, you can see at 5'7", my hair gets pretty close to the ceiling. There is a cutout here from the sunroof, but the sunroof does eat into the headroom space a little bit. But overall, as you can see, this is kind of where I believe people who are looking at Nissan dealerships probably ended up choosing the Sentra because the rear seat space is pretty similar. There's lacking in terms of features, although I haven't sat inside an SL version of the Altima, so I don't know if that actually has vents. But again, if you plan to use this as a family car, the Altima will suffice, but some of the competitors offer a little bit more space. So here we are back behind the wheel of the latest Nissan Altima. That's right, we are playing Big Ultima Energy this week in literally a model that kind of feels and looks more like a rental grade spec. And I have to say, the Altima is not a bad car. In fact, I feel bad for Nissan because Big Ultima Energy has definitely ruined their reputation. But the company is hard at work at trying to restore and repair that reputation. And to be honest, the Altima is on its last leg. We have no idea the future of this vehicle. It could be discontinued after this model year, or Nissan could redesign it as a plug-in hybrid vehicle or a hybrid vehicle, or bring it back as a fully electric car. So we'll have to wait and see, because the best-selling sedan at Nissan is not the Altima, it's now the Sentra, and I can see why. The Sentra is a really good car. The Altima, you know, they got rid of the turbo engine this year, which makes this vehicle less appealing for enthusiasts. We're driving an SV model with all-wheel drive, 182 horsepower from its naturally aspirated four-cylinder, hooked up to their latest CVT. So let's go ahead and see what we can get 0 to 60 wise. Remember, the all-wheel drive model drops around 6 horsepower compared to the front drive model. To get the best time, you put the CVT in sport mode, which is a button here at the bottom half of the shifter. We'll go ahead and brake torque it. Holy smokes, I'm actually really surprised. 0 to 60 in 6.88 seconds. I was not expecting the 0 to 60 time to break under 7 seconds. I was expecting it to be like 8-ish seconds. I mean, the last time I experienced this powertrain was in a Mitsubishi Outlander, literally last week, which has, again, the same engine, but it has more weight to carry around, and that did it in 8.4 seconds. So 6.88 is actually quite respectable, considering the fact that the last Altima I tested with the VC turbo engine 2 years ago almost did it in 5.9 seconds. So I wasn't expecting this powertrain to only be about a second off the 0 to 60 time, and that actually makes this thing quicker than the last all-wheel drive Toyota Camry hybrid that I tested, which Toyota only offers the Camry as a hybrid now. Let's try another run here. This time we won't brake torque it. It's going also slightly more uphill. It's still in sport mode. There's actually quite a jumpiness off the line, which surprises me. When you put your foot down completely, this transmission will hold the revs all the way up there at 6,500 RPM, 7.32 seconds there. That's with it more going slightly uphill. That's honestly pretty impressive 0 to 60 performance. So it's no surprise to me that Nissan would dump the VC turbo engine, because it really wasn't that much quicker, despite the fact that it had more power. It's this CVT. This CVT does a really good job of putting the engine in the meat of its power band and just holding it there, so you don't have to deal with any shifting. Of course, it's a pretty responsive feeling powertrain. Put my foot down, no paddles behind the wheel, but I'm actually okay with that, because the CVT, again, is pretty responsive. It just doesn't sound or feel very fast, but by the numbers, clearly, it's deceiving, because this thing is actually among the quicker accelerating family sedans out there, despite the fact that this is the base engine with only 182 horsepower. Now, the Altima used to be the enthusiast choice as well, thanks to its really sharp and quick steering, its sporty suspension tuning. Obviously, we are not driving the SR trim with the bigger 19-inch wheels. We're driving an SV with 17-inch wheels, and the steering in this car is definitely not great for enthusiastic driving. It's very quick to respond. It's just numb. You don't feel much in terms of road feel. The suspension also is a little bit softer tuned, but the Altima certainly can hold its own. It feels like it's ready to go attack some of your favorite back roads. It just doesn't have the, you know, responsiveness to kind of get back up what the chassis is capable of. The ride quality is still pretty good. The smaller 17-inch wheels soak up the bumps nicely. There's more sidewall protection, which is great. And of course, with the all-wheel drive system here, it tries to appropriate power to the wheel that has the most grip. It also has a brake-based torque vectoring system and a brake-based rear end that acts like a limited slip diff, but it doesn't really actually have a mechanical control of it. But it's not bad. I'm actually quite surprised. If you guys are looking for, you know, a sedan with all-weather capability, this is one of the few options out there, although Hyundai technically offers it now, Kia offers it as well. Honda doesn't offer all-wheel drive, and then Toyota offers all-wheel drive on the Camry, of course, with a hybrid powertrain. Let's try one more run here. This time we won't brake torque it. Again, feels pretty responsive when you first put your foot down. Just doesn't sound great. 6.93 seconds there, so again, that's very impressive performance from a car that is only offering 182 horsepower on paper. I'm blown away. I'm actually really surprised. No wonder people who have big Altima energy like to drive this thing, because it feels pretty peppy when you put your foot down. And then when you only are doing like 3/4 throttle, you can see the CVT tries to mimic gears to give you the feeling of a stepped automatic. It just doesn't sound great. There's a lot of vibration coming through the steering wheel and the pedals. You hear a lot of that droning from the engine. I'll take it out of the sport mode here, and this is where the transmission will do a better job at just kind of giving up its lower or top ratios to kind of improve the efficiency and also just reduce the noise, because it can be kind of a noisy powertrain. It's not wonderful when you're driving it at 10/10s, which I'm imagining that's probably how most Altima owners are driving. Now, in terms of visibility, I can see out of the front, the side, and the rear nicely, so good visibility. My test car still has blind spot monitoring and cross traffic alert, but it also is lacking adaptive cruise control, which is kind of shocking to see. It's not standard. Most competitors make adaptive cruise control standard. You have to step it up to the Altima's higher trims to get that feature. The seats, however, I don't love the padding material. It feels flat. It feels like I don't have enough thigh support. There's zero bolstering extension, so you're basically flailing around in the seat as you go around some corners. Thankfully, the cushioning is not bad. It just doesn't feel like it's been designed for comfort, long distance comfort in mind. The leather seats, I personally would rather go for, but the cloth material at least feels pretty decent. In terms of fuel efficiency, this car is rated at 25 in the city, 34 on the highway. In my week's worth of testing, I averaged around 29 mpg, which is also not bad. You can credit the efficient, naturally aspirated direct injection 4 with this CVT. It's good for efficiency. You're looking at around just over 450 miles of range on a full tank. I was doing around 400 miles, so it's pretty good. Again, as a vehicle that you might find at your local rental counter, this is certainly not a bad car. It's efficient, it's comfortable, it's spacious enough, it has good storage, it has plenty of peppy acceleration in real world driving, which is surprising. So it's kind of a shame. It's a shame that the Altima has fallen so far off of its grace, because this car was one of the most sought after mid-sized family sedans back in the day. I'm talking about back in like 2000 and the mid-2005 era, especially when they had the SER trim. I loved that model with the 6-speed manual. Front-wheel drive only had gobs of torque steer, but it was still cool. It was different, it was sporty. It was the cure for the common sedan, which is what Nissan used to call this vehicle. And now they've basically become a common sedan, unfortunately. So I'll be curious to see if Nissan eventually redesigns this car, or they bring it back as a plug-in hybrid, or they bring it back as a fully electric car, because I do think the Altima is a staple within the Nissan, portfolio, and I would hate to see this car go. I mean, granted, the Sentra is definitely a better deal. It's almost similar in terms of interior space, but it's cheaper than this car. But overall, if you're looking for a mid-sized family sedan and you don't mind driving around with something like the stigma of big Altima energy, this car certainly is still worth a look, and you can also pick these up for a little bit less than most of its competitors. So with just under 114,000 units sold in America last year, the Altima was Nissan's third best-selling model, a far cry versus the 330,000 plus units they used to do about 10 to 15 years ago. This vehicle was actually behind even the Sentra. The Sentra outsold this model by about 40,000 units. Of course, the best-selling vehicle at Nissan was the Rogue with around 245,000 units. Overall, Nissan sales were up about 4% in America versus 2023. So the company is doing some great things here to improve their product line. I mean, new products are going to certainly help, but after spending a full week with the latest Altima, this is definitely starting to show its age. I mean, obviously we got a pretty extensive refresh about 2 years ago, but there are some things about the Altima that just kind of make it feel a little bit too common, a little bit too bland, especially alongside new competitors like from Hyundai and Kia, from Honda, and of course Toyota with their stalwart Camry, which I think is the best currently in this segment. But as you guys saw, even though there's only one engine option now, this 2.5 liter direct injection 4 punches above its weight with 0 to 60 times around 7 seconds, just under 7 seconds, which is very impressive. I love how Nissan still offers this vehicle with all-wheel drive, and you can basically get it on every trim except for the base S trim. The exterior styling, I think, has aged extremely well. This is still one of the more attractive looking family sedans out there. I just don't love the rear end with those cheap looking all-incandescent taillights. The interior definitely starts to feel a little bit dated, but at least most models will come with the bigger 12.3-inch display. I think this model here with the special edition package, how it rolls that in for $1,000 is a steal. And it certainly gives it a competitive infotainment system. It just has a little bit dated graphics, and the software also needs a little bit of work. There's no fully digital instrument cluster, which is something some competitors have been offering for a while. Same thing with no panoramic sunroof. And of course, as Nissan begins to wind this vehicle down, you can't get it with all the different configurations you used to get. I mean, me personally, I would go for the SR trim in that tactical green with the bronze wheels and add that a premium package. That model, however, can cost a little bit more versus some of its rivals because the latest Altima is cheaper versus most of its competitors. Starting at a price of $27,000 for the base S, most of you will step it up to the SV for about $400 extra. This SV Special Edition is around $28,500, which honestly is a smoking deal. Now, again, if you want all-wheel drive, it'll cost you an extra $1,000. My particular test car here with the paint charge and a couple of dealer accessories brings the total to just over $32,500. So 32 grand for a vehicle like this certainly is not bad, especially in today's day and age where cars are just getting so stupid expensive. Keep in mind, if you guys want that SR in the tactical green that's super unique looking, in my opinion, that one with the premium package will cost you around $36,000, or you could drop the premium package and deal with the smaller 8-inch display and not have the leather for around $33,000. So for me, personally, the Altima is still actually a great vehicle to drive, especially if you guys are looking at your local rental counter. This is still comfortable, it's still fuel efficient, it still has decent power, and you can also get it with all-wheel drive. It's also a really good-looking sedan, so it's a shame that Nissan says that this is the last model year because I do think that the Altima has a place in their lineup. So I'm hoping that they'll eventually bring it back for its 7th generation as a plug-in hybrid or a hybrid vehicle or as a fully electric car. Only time will tell, of course, but as Nissan can kind of reshifts their focus and really tries to fix their brand image, which this car was kind of at the forefront of that with big Altima energy, it certainly leaves me wondering what's going to be next for the future of this model line. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2025 Nissan Altima in this SV all-wheel drive trim. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.